Someone makes a mistake, and you immediately understand. They're tired, they're overwhelmed, they're doing their best. But when you make the same mistake, your voice changes. How could I be so stupid? A friend calls you at midnight, and you stay awake listening. Someone disappoints you, and you search for reasons to forgive them. Someone feels insecure, and somehow you always know what to say. But when you're the one falling apart, you become strangely cruel. You replay what you said. You notice everything you did wrong. You forgive in others what you punish in yourself. And maybe no one sees this, because from the outside, you look kind, patient, understanding. But there is a strange loneliness in becoming a safe place for everyone except yourself. And the question is not why you care so much about other people. It is why the compassion you give so freely seems to disappear the moment you turn toward yourself. You probably weren't born speaking to yourself this way. At some point, you learned it. Maybe you grew up in a home where being easy to deal with was rewarded. You noticed that people were happier when you didn't complain, didn't need too much, didn't create problems. So you became good at reading the room. You learned when someone was upset before they said a word. You apologized quickly. You helped. You adapted. And slowly, a dangerous equation can form. If everyone around me is okay, then I am okay. But what happens when you are the one who needs something? Suddenly, asking feels selfish. Rest feels undeserved. Saying no feels like disappointing someone. Carl Jung wrote about the parts of ourselves we struggle to recognize and integrate, the qualities, impulses, and feelings that don't fit the person we believe we are supposed to be. And sometimes, the identity of the kind one leaves very little room for anger, need, weakness, or resentment. So those feelings don't simply disappear. You turn them inward. Someone crosses your boundary, and instead of asking, "Why did they treat me this way?" you wonder, "Why am I so sensitive?" Someone takes more than you can give, and instead of feeling angry at them, you feel guilty for wanting to stop. That's how kindness can become strangely entangled with self-rejection. Not because kindness is the problem, but because somewhere along the way, you may have learned that everyone else's humanity deserves understanding, while yours needs to be controlled. Think about the last time someone you love failed. Maybe they forgot something important, made a bad decision, said something they regretted. You probably didn't reduce their entire identity to that moment. You saw context. They were stressed. They didn't mean it. Everyone makes mistakes. But when the mistake is yours, context suddenly disappears. One awkward conversation becomes, "I always ruin things." One rejection becomes, "I'm not enough." One bad decision becomes evidence against your entire character. Daniel Kahneman's work on judgment helps explain something important. The mind does not evaluate reality like a perfectly neutral observer. Our judgments are shaped by shortcuts, associations, and the way situations are framed. And when you already carry a negative story about yourself, every mistake can feel like confirmation. You don't simply experience what happened. You put it on trial. And somehow, you are both the accused and the prosecutor. This creates a strange double standard. When someone else fails, you judge the situation. When you fail, you judge the person. That's why reassurance from other people can sometimes feel strangely temporary. Someone can tell you, you did nothing wrong, and for a moment, you believe them. Then the internal trial begins again. Maybe the deeper problem isn't that you don't know how to forgive. You clearly do. You've practiced forgiveness on everyone around you. The painful part is that somewhere inside, you created an exception. And that exception has your name on it. There is another side to being the person everyone can count on. Sometimes helping others keeps you from having to look at yourself. Your friend is struggling? You know exactly what to do. Someone needs advice? You're there. Someone needs a favor when you're already exhausted? Of course. Because being needed gives you a role, and roles can feel safer than questions. If you're busy fixing someone else's pain, you don't have to sit quietly with your own. If you're always listening, no one asks what you've been holding inside. You become the strong one, the kind one, the one who never makes things difficult. And eventually, that identity can become a hiding place. This doesn't mean your kindness is fake. The care can be completely genuine. But two things can be true at once. You can deeply love helping people and also use their needs to avoid confronting your own. Because receiving is different from giving. Giving keeps you useful. Receiving requires you to be vulnerable. Giving lets you control what people see. Receiving means admitting, I can't carry this alone. And for someone who has quietly connected their worth to what they provide, that can feel terrifying. So you keep giving, even when you're tired, even when you're hurt, even when a quiet resentment begins appearing underneath your kindness. Not because you've stopped caring about people, but because part of you is beginning to wonder, if I stop being useful to everyone, will I still feel worthy of being loved? Eventually, being everyone's safe place starts costing you something. Not all at once, quietly. You answer the message even when you don't have the energy. You say, it's fine, when something actually hurt. You agree to plans because saying no would make you feel guilty. And people may genuinely love you, but they can only respond to the version of you they are allowed to see. So while everyone thinks you're doing fine, you begin feeling strangely invisible. You listen to everyone's problems, yet when something happens to you, your first instinct is, I don't want to bother anyone. That's the paradox. You become surrounded by people who trust you, while feeling unable to lean on any of them. Viktor Frankl emphasized that human life reaches beyond the self toward meaning, responsibility, and other people. But caring for something beyond yourself does not require erasing yourself. There is a difference between choosing to give and believing you must give in order to deserve your place. When that difference disappears, kindness becomes exhausting. You start saying yes with a smile and feeling resentment afterward. Then you hate yourself for the resentment. So you give more to prove you're still a good person, and the cycle begins again. Maybe the exhaustion isn't telling you that you've become less kind. Maybe it's telling you that you've spent years offering everyone else a kind of care you were never included in. And sooner or later, you have to ask, when everyone comes to you for safety, where do you go? Maybe you don't need to learn how to love yourself overnight. Maybe that's too big. Start smaller. The next time you make a mistake, notice the first sentence your mind gives you. Then ask, would I say this to someone I love? Not because you should excuse everything you do, but because accountability and cruelty are not the same thing. You can say, I was wrong, without saying, there is something wrong with me. You can disappoint someone without becoming a disappointment. You can need rest without earning it first. And you can say no without turning yourself into the villain of someone else's story. The goal isn't to become less caring. It's to stop excluding yourself from your own compassion. Because perhaps the strangest thing about people who are endlessly kind to others is that they already possess everything they need. Patience, understanding, forgiveness, gentleness. They just learn to send all of it outward. So when that familiar voice returns, when you fail, feel needy, get overwhelmed, or simply cannot be everything for everyone, try something different. Don't ask what the perfect version of you would deserve. Ask what you would offer someone you love if they were sitting beside you feeling exactly what you feel. Then, for once, don't give that answer away. Keep some of it for yourself. because you deserve to experience the kindness everyone else already knows you for.